Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chief Executive Officer of Honda Motor Company, Takanobu Ito.
Domo arigato. Konnichiwa. It is with great pleasure that I announce Honda is to launch brand new successor to esteemed NSX supercar. Original NSX developed by Ayrton Senna. New NSX developed by Bruno Senna. Performance will be extremely average.
Hello and welcome to Points of View. I'm one of those BBC presenters who presented Points of View all those years ago. Either that or this is Gareth Jones on Speed, and I'm Gareth Jones. He's Richard.
Hello.
And he's Zog.
Hello.
I say Points of View because...
Barry Took.
Well, did he?
Why?
Barry
Must
Took
be
on Speed.
Yeah.
Barry Took.
We did Points of View, and then it was Anne Robinson.
Anne Robinson it was, yes, you're right,
It was Rogan, and if you're listening abroad, you'll have no idea what we're talking about.
In fact, if you're listening under the age of 40, you'll have no idea.
It's still on Points of View, isn't it?
Is it?
Rogan does it now, yeah.
Is he still?
Well, last I checked, but I haven't checked recently.
I thought he'd been dead for 10 years, despite the
Old
fact he's
tell.
still broadcasting.
No!
Oh, I thought he was broadcasting.
He's
beyond the
immortal,
grave.
surely, Terry Wogan.
And we're off to a
There's no
bonkers
stopping him.
start.
He's a lovely man.
So I say... You said that in the style of Wogan, though, didn't you?
I might do the rest of the show. Going very, very high, and then down very low.
All right.
It's Old Tell. Anyway.
I will read this then in the style of Old Tell.
I probably wouldn't.
No.
Again, people abroad going, what the ruddy noise are you going on about?
In fact, I won't read this yet because we're responding to a tweet. We thought we'd do a sort of points of view thing where we respond to your communications. And we had a tweet a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago.
James Caldwell, dropped us a line to say... I think I've...
What, Calder?
Let me just...
Caldwell Meister?
That's
Calderoony.
Maybe see if let me get it right up here on the, the electronic device of joy.
LL Caldwell.
So speedsters, says Mr. Caldwell.
That's right.
Does the grip of road car tyres improve as they warm up like racing car tyres?
Does the
Good
grip
question.
of
Good question.
road cars'
Well-
tyres improve as the temperature increases, just like race tyres?
And I got back to him pretty quickly saying, they must do.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be the same kind of chemistry, same kind of physics.
Yeah, I think the
basically,
only
yes.
difference is
But
they can't
the
build
difference-
up as much heat as a racing car tyre because the extremes of
Exactly.
G and not G, but the cornering forces, the lateral forces causing the rubber blocks to move around, the rubber itself to warm up, aren't as much as they would be if you were driving even a road car on a racetrack. But
It's that lateral load.
Absolutely.
Was
that right?
Yeah, it
I
was.
was just winning that one. So
Yeah,
phew.
I'm sure the lateral
And
load
the
is one of the
extremes.
biggest factors. But then also, if you're driving a racing car, you're basically putting in as much load as you can through the tyre almost all the time. You're accelerating as hard as you can, you're braking as hard as you can, you're cornering as fast as you can. If you're doing that on the road, you're not going to last very long.
Yeah.
So
Get the carcass
it's completely
moving. That's the
different.
main thing.
We spend most of our time on the road going in more or less straight lines, and when we go round corners, they're fairly gentle corners, or we slow down.
Oh, yeah,
So
but
you're
even
gonna-
going in a straight line, the friction of just the rubber on the road would surely generate a bit of heat.
It
It
does
does, and-
generate a bit of heat, yes.
Yeah, and I was actually able to test this because, oddly, by total coincidence, about a week after he dropped this line, we had this little conversation, and we'll get onto the winter versus summer tyres thing in a minute. About a week after he dropped this line, I happened to install a tyre pressure monitoring system on my car, and as well as monitoring the tyre pressure, it monitors the temperature.
No.
And so you can see what temperature your tyres are at as you're driving around, and I was able to check on a little run up from northwest London to Potters Bar. Just a little bit of dual carriageway, couple of roundabouts, bit of A1. The tyre temperature went up from about 14 degrees centigrade to about 29 degrees centigrade. So
Do you mean 14 Celsius? That's how you're supposed to give it out, apparently. You just say
Is it?
14 Celsius, yeah. You
Well,
say
rather
degree
centigrade.
You can say degree centigrade, but the correct way, apparently, is just to say 14 Celsius. Don't mention degrees, and say Celsius rather than centigrade.
But is it degrees centigrade? Well, okay. Well,
You can say degree
We're
centigrade,
going to have to look this up because I think I'm not.
Never
I'm
thought
not.
I would say
I'm not
this,
going to
but
accept
could
the
we please
correction.
get back to talking about
Okay.
tyres?
So a rise of 15 degrees.
That's officially interesting.
It's a
Look,
slight
another way,
rise of
it's doubled
temperature.
in temperature.
No, it hasn't, because
Oh,
Yeah, sorry, but
Is it
no,
like
no,
earthquakes?
if you're going to say that, well, no, because that's relative to 0 Celsius or 0 degrees centigrade. That's not an absolute temperature scale. The absolute temperature scale is the one that runs from absolute 0,
Kelvin!
which is minus 273. Yep, Kelvin, as you say. And in Kelvin, it would be the difference between 287 Kelvin and 302 Kelvin. So that's not a very significant difference. It's
He's
about
good with
10%
numbers,
or
isn't
something.
And Kevin's.
And Kelvin's, not
Kelvin's,
Kevin's.
that's it.
So it's not a doubling of temperature. It's going to be enough to make a difference, I'm sure. But the interesting question
that
is,
the
and I
hottest
don't
they've
know
got?
how... so far, give or take a couple of degrees, I think I've seen them get up to sort of 31, 32 degrees. What I want to do is take the car out on a track day. I want to see how hot they get on a track day.
Yes.
That'll be interesting. You know, road tyres on a track day, how hot will they get? We know that when they put racing tyres on an F1 car, they're going on about 100 degrees centigrade, aren't they? 100 Celsius. So quite a lot hotter. And race tyres are designed to work in that kind of much more elevated temperature. Whether it's 100 or whether it's 50 Celsius, it's a fair whack higher than we're talking about for these slightly worked road tyres. I don't know how much difference that's going to make to grip. I would guess it's going to make a difference, but not all that much, because you're going to design a road tyre so that it's going to work as well as possible across the temperature.
Broad
Yeah.
range of temperatures.
As an aside, a tyre manufacturer offered to make some slicks for a road car for us at Top Gear, but with the proviso that the sheer amount of grip they would develop, obviously just on a track, because they're illegal on the road, but the sheer amount of grip may in fact just shear the wheels off the hubs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or cause some other
Interesting.
catastrophic suspension failure,
Yeah.
because a road car isn't really designed to take
Yeah,
that
yeah.
amount of loading in that
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we haven't done it actually because we couldn't really see the points.
Don't put slicks on a Kia Rio or something.
But you
Right.
did some proper research on this, didn't you?
Well-
you actually called somebody, or you...
Yeah, I'm not as confident in my science as a lot of people think I might be. So I thought I'd talk to people who know about tyres, Michelin, because they do know
They
about
know
tyres.
tyres.
Because I have a relationship with Michelin. I've been to Clermont-Ferrand, their factory, where they make tyres, and actually built a tyre there for a De Chevaux, which you'd like.
Oh, yeah, I love
Michelin
that.
X, they were the tyres off the De Chevaux.
Is that what they were?
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
called the X, I don't know why. Also, an engineer once told me that, I know it sounds ridiculous, but of all the tyre manufacturers, Michelin make the roundest tyres. No, I know it sounds daft, but the,
The
tyres
most
are never
precisely
perfect.
round.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're always slightly imperfect,
Interesting.
but Michelin get the closest to a perfect.
If you want to see me making a tyre and find out more stuff about tyres, you can. Go to my website, garethjones.tv, go to the gallery section, go to video, and somewhere in the video section there's a thing of me talking about tyres on an ITV show called Speed Sunday. Anyway, so I spoke to Paul Caudle, who's the PR manager for Michelin UK, and we said, do road tyres increase in grip over temperature increase on the road in the UK? And he said this: further to your call, yes. Although he didn't say it in that voice. No, he didn't. This isn't points of view. So yeah, further to your call, yes. Road tyres do offer more grip as they heat up. Obviously not to the same levels as race tyres, Richard, but it's the same idea. The problem comes in winter conditions, hence the need for cold weather tyres.
Well, we basically just said all that, so frankly,
that's-
Caudle, you've wasted all our time.
Mr. Baha, I speak for the whole of the Proton directors when I say we are delighted to offer you a new 4-year contract as a chief executive of Lotus. Please, tell us about your latest plans for the company.
Thank you, guys. Moose trousers. My plans for Lotus are simple. We will establish a strawberry plantation on the Sea of Tranquility. We will extract milk from wasps.
Yes.
We aim to find a way to use espadrilles as a hat. And I will personally release Agadoo in 9 different languages.
Oh, very good, yes.
Also, I want Lotus to win the Formula One World Championship within 3 years.
Well, now you're just being silly.
Horses, brah. Woo!
With Gareth Jones on speed!
I remember a few years ago, not last year or the year before, where we had some pretty epic snowy weather. It was pretty icy. And I had my little Suzuki Cappuccino. And I took a trip down the road I live on here. It's sort of boomerang shaped. right? So I got to the apex of the corner, turned in, and my little rear-wheel drive, 3-cylinder, turbocharged, lightweight, was it 600 kilos? It's very light, very light. And the front wheels turned, nothing else did. And I just very, very carefully, very slowly just rolled forward and stopped about a micron from the back of a Nissan Bluebird or something. It literally, there was nothing I was going to do about this. Ever so gently and slowly. Oh, driving in snowy conditions is rubbish. I almost certainly had the wrong tyres on, but I also had a rear-wheel drive car, which is not so good in snow. You want front-wheel drive, really, don't you, in the snow? You want four-wheel drive in the snow. Well,
yeah, probably. But more...
Actually, you know that theory of mine, don't you?
Go on.
No.
Well, you know this. There are more 4x... I've said this on the show before, but not for years. There are more 4x4s dented in snowy conditions than two-wheel drive cars. Because people go out on 4x4s, they put the grip down, they accelerate, and when it comes to braking, they're in exactly the same position as every other car, except that they're going twice as fast and they're in a vehicle that's twice as heavy.
Well,
so they have more chance of an accident.
Yeah, but if you've got more grip when you're accelerating, you've also got more grip when you're braking, because it's, that's...
No,
Well,
you've got
no,
more
'cause
grip when you're accelerating because you're accelerating through four wheels. But when you're braking, you're still braking through four wheels like any other car. So you can accelerate better than a two-wheel drive car, but you cannot brake better than a two-wheel drive
Sorry, yes,
car.
you're right. I was thinking of the basic sort of interaction between the tyres and the road surface. As we were saying before, we were getting onto this subject of winter versus summer tyres, and it does make a real difference. I've got to be honest, I've never put winter tyres on my car, but the more I hear about it, the more I think, yes, maybe I should be thinking about doing that, because, there are several countries in Europe, including maybe Germany and some of the Scandinavian countries, where from November onwards, if you don't have winter tyres in your car, an insurance company won't pay out if you have an accident.
I think it's the law. You can get done because it's considered irresponsible. You're driving a car that's not fully under control in places where they have a lot of snow. And you do go to these places and you'll see quite top-line BMWs, Audis and things that would normally come on some nice alloys. And in the winter, they're running around on Steelies because
that's where they've got their winter tyres on.
And this is the thing. And last Christmas...
This has become the trend, hasn't it, whereby you swap your wheels.
Yeah, but you don't go to the faff of having the tyres taken off your rims and new tyres put on. Yeah. You just have another set of wheels. Yeah. Because I did have this graphic demonstration of how good winter tyres are last Christmas. Borrowed this Aston Rapide that I think I mentioned on the show.
The orange one?
No, that was the V12 Vantage. The Rapide was sort of light green, and it's a nice car. It's the second best car Aston make, because the V12 Vantage turns out to be the best.
That's a selling line, the second best car we make.
And it came with good tyres on it. We had a pretty foul winter. And I was staggered at how unstoppable that car was. It's preposterous. And it was brought home to me, and this thing about four-wheel drive as well, in a motorway service area. And the car park was on a bit of a slope, one of those ones on the M40. It had got a bit icy and slushy, and it was horrible, and people were slithering all over the place. I was thinking there's going to be an accident here at a stupidly low speed, but please not into this borrowed Aston Martin. That would be very embarrassing. So to escape the snafu, I headed over the caravan parking area, which was deserted but also covered in snow. And I knew at this point, because I'd been driving it enough, that it was incredibly good in those conditions. And sure enough, just take it easy. Traction control light didn't even come on. Chap in a Subaru Legacy Outback, four-wheel drive,
on the wrong tyres,
but presumably on summer tyres, came into the caravan area just ahead of me, also to avoid people slithering into each other. And then I saw all four wheels on his car spinning. And I thought, hang on a minute, I'm not even troubling the traction control light, but that's how good the winter tyres were. It's nothing to do with the car per se. It's the winter tyres. They're amazing.
Can I just explain the principle on which snow tyres work?
I think this would be a good moment.
I'm sure you two know this, but I discovered this fairly recently. Snow tyres work on the principle that snow sticks to snow better than rubber sticks to snow. And so winter tyres are designed to retain clumps of snow in the grooves. The grooves are wider and they retain the snow.
There's more space to kind of get snow packed into them.
And so you get a rim of snow adhered to your tyre, jammed to the tyre, and that snow then sticks to the snow on the ground. Because it generates heat and it melts ever so slightly and it sticks to it.
But they're also good on ice.
Is there not also compound? Is there not also a compound?
There's compound, yes.
It's the fact that they retain the snow.
No, but they work on ice as well. They work much better on ice. And that's because, as I understand it, what are they called? The blocks of rubber called on
tread
blocks?
blocks.
Tread blocks, but then there's also, what are they, sipes, aren't they called sipes? The channels that channel water away on.
No, very good.
I think it's called sipes.
So
we did a thing.
I'm glad we researched this properly before.
I know. Never knowingly over-researched. I did a thing on Twitter a while ago, and collectively a few of us decided that those little hairs you get on tyres, which I think are, where they've come out of the mould, but we decided they're called pnubes. Which works better written down on reflection. But the other thing is, the sipes and the tread blocks are designed so that the contact patch, with the weight of the car in it, the pressure downwards causes them to open up a little bit, and then there's a sort of suckering action, which probably does also gather up the snow, but it's designed to sort of just nip into the ice and sucker the tyre on. I mean, obviously, it's happening thousands of times.
I
think so. Bigger, bungier tread blocks.
Intuitively, that you've basically got a compound that's softer at that lower temperature.
Yeah, that helps, I think. It's the compound as well. Perhaps we shouldn't have been so rude about Paul Caudle, the PR manager from Michelin, because we could get him back now, for we've burned our bridges, haven't we? So all I was going to say about winter tyres is that, having had this sort of salutary lesson in how good they are on a very powerful rear-wheel drive car that should be terrible in the snow, I also realised I have quite a powerful rear-wheel drive car that is terrible in the snow. And last winter, I had to get my Jag moved from one place to another because I was going away, and it was terrifying. It was just so bad that I just gave up. It's unusable in those sort of conditions. And I thought, well, I'll get some winter tyres. And I'm sure many listeners might have had this experience. And you suddenly go, where the bloody hell am I going to keep my summer wheels and tyres? And I notice now that some tyre people are offering a storage service.
Yeah, it's part
and
of the deal.
BMW, amongst, I think some other car makers are doing this now. BMW definitely doing it. A winter tyre service. You go to your local BMW garage, they put on the winter rims with the winter tyres that you've bought, and they will store your summer tyres for you for a fee. But at least it takes that aggro of, because, I'll just stack them up in the living room. I don't have a garage or a shed or anything. So
great idea, but at the point at which we're recording this programme, not only is there no sign of snow or ice or anything outside, it's practically balmy. I think we should be getting summer tyres.
It's cold today. Cold.
You're feeling your age, aren't you?
Probably. Do you know, it's one of those signs of getting old, when you don't just go out and go, oh, it's cold. You go, oh, cold's getting into my bones. Oh, isn't it? Oh, it's really nippy. Oh, yeah. But no, I think it's been quite cold. It's quite cold today. But don't say it's going to snow, because I need to get around for the next few weeks. If it snows
far up the hot
after the 21st of December, knock yourselves out, people. I'm going to be in America. I don't care anymore. Yeah. Only for a bit, though. Please don't snow while I'm away, because then the plane won't be able to land on the way back. I'll just be hoisted by my own smug petard.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you've been enjoying your in-flight service with Speed Air to California today. I've been looking at the weather conditions ahead of us, and, it doesn't look too good, I'm sorry to say. In fact, it looks like we're going to fly straight into a weather front of extreme smugness. Obviously, we don't want to do that. So this flight is being diverted from Los Angeles, and instead we'll now be landing in Alaska. And I'm afraid I haven't bothered to fit winter tires to this aircraft. I had nowhere to store them.
Gareth Jones on speed.
Does anyone in this room remember anything that happened before this week? My mind's rubbish these days.
Gondwana separated into different continents.
You remember that?
Evolution of... Oh, remember. Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
Well, you may remember very early on in this season 7 of Gareth Jones on Speed.
Oh, yeah.
I said, right, Korean cars. We're going to do a lot about Korean cars this year. Do you remember that? We said that at some point. Yeah. Finally, we have. I've driven 2 Korean cars in the last few weeks. The Kia Sorento, which I'll talk about another time, but also the Hyundai, or Hyundai, as some people still say, i40 Tourer, which I remember you said to me on the show, you should drive one of those, Gareth. Very much your sort of thing, because you saw it.
I probably did.
You did, yeah.
Yeah.
You were right.
It was your sort of thing.
It was very much my sort of thing.
Yeah.
Very, 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 very much my sort. A sporting estate, although more sporting in style than performance. It's 0 to 62 time is about 10 point something seconds.
Which engine is this?
This is the 1.7, and I like that, turbo diesel, 1.7.
Well, 1.7.
It's
like
such...
an ITAL.
Well, I was going to say, it's such a 70s or 80s engine size, isn't it, 1.7?
Very few people do 1.7s or ever have, for reasons I don't know. Yeah. There are certain engine capacities that go unloved.
1725 Roots Group. Do you remember that sort of Hillman's?
Yeah, 1.5 nice and
popular.
popular. 1.6 is fairly nice, okay.
Yeah. 1.6, but there used to be that you would sort of an engine range from somebody like Ford or Vauxhall or BL would go
1100.
Well, I think 1 litre
30,
or maybe 1.1. You're right, yes.
Yeah.
And then 1300,
1600,
and then probably 2 litre, maybe an 1800.
Yeah.
If you want to fit in another one, as people like Vauxhall did, just to give that sort of rep hierarchy that they needed in the range.
Yeah.
And then 1300 or 1.3 was usurped by 1.4. 1.4 became the new trendy capacity.
Yeah.
And then 1.2. Lots of people do 1.2s now.
But
where does that come from?
1.5, very old-fashioned, sort of predates 1600s.
Yeah, well, like the Riley.
Oh, yes.
And, bizarrely, so BMC and BL plugged on with 1500cc maxis and things like that. But Nissan did them.
What was that Toyota we drove? 1.33 was the engine size, wasn't it? Ford do a 1.33, don't they?
No, Ford do a 1.25.
I like that.
And so do Kia now. Which is a cheat, because if you're playing by the rules, 1.25 is 1.3, but for marketing reasons or whatever, they decided no.
To two significant figures, yes, or to one decimal place.
But it should still be, because that's you're rounding up. It's the same as Bentley. For years have had that 6.75 litre V8, which they insist on calling that a 6.75 litre. But,
rather than calling it 6.8.
For the sake of rounding up.
It makes less difference at that point. When you're talking about the difference between 6.75 and 6.8 is a lot less than the difference between,
adequate amount of horsepower.
1.25 and 1.3, or 2.25.
Now, when you're talking about Toyotas, though, I'm sure you're thinking of the Yaris and the Verso and things like that have this 1.33 litre engine, which is also in the Auris. And again, I don't know. Round down, it's a 1.3. No one cares about the other third.
I do. I like that.
Do you?
Oh, yeah.
You like the precision?
I do, yeah.
I don't know why they're doing it, though. I really don't understand it. It's strange. But anyway.
They've got some extra threes they want to use up.
We digress. 2.1, there's another one you don't normally get.
So this Hyundai turns up with its 1.7, very impressive.
2.4 wasn't done very much, but there was a Nissan Laurel, I think, and then, of course, Ford brought those new V6s into the Scorpio,
Bring back
replacing
the
2.8,
I say.
2.8, but then 2.8 got replaced by 2.9, a very rare capacity.
Yeah, Ford.
Although, actually, some of the Porsche 944s, were they 2.9?
No.
There were 3 litres, I know, but were they actually 2.9?
The 968 went up to, there was a 3 litre, in the end they ended up, it was 2998, I think it was, wasn't it?
Okay.
Biggest capacity four-cylinder.
What's the capacity of your Fit
of recent years, not counting really old ones?
My Fit 500 is 875.
875. See, that's an old-fashioned size, isn't it?
0.9 if you'd like it that way.
No, I like 875.
I do as well.
So, this Hyundai turns up. And my first reaction, at the risk of sounding like Chris Goffey, was, it's a Mondeo estate. It looks very much like a Mondeo estate. Its sort of presence, the angle of the boot, its sort of stance, everything about it. So I drove it round the corner where there is a Mondeo estate parked and parked it up alongside it. They're identical in length and height. There's very little difference. And that was a real surprise. I thought the i40 was going to be a much smaller car. I40, it sounds like, it should be sort of, I don't know, Allegro size, the name i40. If it was an i70...
Well, what are you using as the yardstick on this?
Well, a 4.
Because they've given themselves the leeway to make 6
i50,
cars that are bigger, or 5 cars that are bigger. Yeah. Well, they can make as many cars that are bigger as they want, but of course, what do they end up with? A monster truck. The i1200.
An 18-wheeler.
Yeah. But it was ever so nice, and it's got a lot of sort of... I'll come down a couple of octaves.
Old
Tell is back again. It had a sort of Mercedes quality about it, in that, it's keyless entry, keyless start, and just the substantial...
But the quality? I mean, because that's, the ticking the boxes is one thing, but did it have that sort of the solidity?
Yeah, really, yeah. It smelled like a Mercedes. It had a lot of clues why they've loaded this car quite so heavily. I don't know how it compares with the rest of the Hyundai range. I haven't driven any other Hyundais. You driven any other Hyundais recently?
Yeah, I've driven all of them except that i40, I think.
It's an extraordinary thing. The rest of the range cannot possibly be like this car. They've
No,
invested
they're very
everything.
good. That's the thing.
It's
They are
better than
genuinely
very good.
just... I mean, it's almost a damn them with faint praise, but I haven't driven a Hyundai for ages that I haven't thought, well, this is just fine. And I mean that in the nicest possible way.
Yeah.
They're just fine. These are the kind of cars you'd recommend to someone who's not really that into cars, but if they were a bit into cars, they'd still enjoy them. They're pleasant cars to drive. The i30, which is the Golf-sized one, is perfectly fine. I was trying to persuade my dad to buy one because it's got a massive warranty and they're quite good value. And
Korea's the new Japan. And, you know, you'd always recommend a Japanese car to a friend,
exactly,
wouldn't
that's
you?
the thing. And I borrowed one from Hyundai just to drive it and see what I thought, and then took it to show my dad, who liked it, but then went and bought a bloody Peugeot. And so there's quite a few miles in it. And I was just thinking, this is fine. And then it turns out, while no one was looking, early this year they announced the replacement for it. And it's like, this car's only been out for 20 minutes. What are you doing? And it's perfectly all right. So I think the new one will probably be even more than perfectly all right, because they seem to get better and better all the time.
There's no saloon version of this car.
It's coming.
Yeah, and it's more of almost like a coupe sort of thing.
But
as
it's
well.
interesting to launch with an estate first.
I
there's
like
not
him for
a
that.
statement they're making, but it's an interesting one. It's probably saying, well, you're European and you like estates. Here, have an estate.
Yeah.
But it strikes me they're not a particularly design-led company. They're not sort of putting these
Until
things
now.
out there. They're not a style-led company, are they? I mean,
But this
it's
is their next
much more
stage.
about sort of
They've worked out the
practicality and, like you
technical
say,
stuff.
they're
They've figured out the technical stuff now. They can do engineering and interior quality as good as European manufacturers. So now the next frontier is, well, let's make the cars look nice.
make them
Yeah,
cool.
that's right, this i40
make
estate, I mean, it is a nice looking car. The next i30 that is coming out, and there are pictures of it online, and it's on sale very soon, that's a nice looking car as well, nicer looking than the old one. They're just, every iteration of every model they do just gets a bit better, and their step change between them is getting way more advanced than the step between Focuses or Golfs with each generation. And that's why Ford and VW and Vauxhall and everyone else should be quite
running
worried.
scared. Absolutely. If I was Ford, I'd be terrified, because you know how much I love Fords. And if I had a choice between a Mondeo or the Hyundai, I'd really think hard about going for the Hyundai because of the fantastic warranty thing that they do. It wasn't anywhere near as thrifty as it was supposed to be. I got about 35 miles to the gallon, although I think I was driving it quickly because it's got great steering. It's got the most alive steering since that Renault Sport bloody Megane I had. It really wants you to play. I don't know if it's electric steering or what. I'll have to read the spec one day. But it was great fun. Violet asked me to slow down because I'd see a roundabout and accelerate into the roundabout. Oh, I'm enjoying this. I really did. I can't wait until they do an MPV version of this on this wheelbase. It's a big, long wheelbase. They could get something to rival the S-Max, I think, if they put their mind to it, and that would be the car for me, baby. Unless they did a proper shooting.
Actually, it's funny you should mention that, because here's an example of how ballsy Hyundai are at the moment and how it's do or die, and they're prepared to make some quite interesting decisions to further their aim to be huge. They had an MPV coming for the American market. I can't remember what it's called. It was spied on test, covered in bin bags and stuff like that. The rumour was it was supposed to be announced at a motor show quite soon, and they've decided it's not good enough and they've canned it.
No, that's
it's like they've got to the
bold.
point they've got running prototypes in production spec running around. They did the same with that big saloon that I've driven, the Genesis, the one that you can buy in America. They had that designed by an unnamed Italian design house. There's some pictures you can find on the internet if you search hard enough of the original design. And it was basically bloody awful. And quite late in the process, they suddenly went, do you know what? This is awful. Let's start again. And they reclothed the car. And now it's a bit generic, but it's a nice-looking car. That kind of stuff costs money. They've probably ordered the tooling and done all this development on that body style. You've got to re-engineer it and stuff and make sure it all works and fits together and all the rest of it. So, you know, they're spending money to ultimately make more money because they'll be huge and successful.
And the money's on the car as well, you know. It's got all the parking stuff. It's got the rear camera.
You feel like you're getting your value for money.
Yeah, you really, really, really do. Knocked out. Genuinely knocked out. That's it. That's all I wanted to say. My only complaint, shouldn't be called an i40. It makes it sound like a little car. It should be the i9 billion. That would do it. The Hyundai i9 billion. Really.
I think that's a bit too big.
Say goodbye, fellas.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
We'll leave you with a tune. This is in the style of... do you remember John Fox? You remember John Fox, don't you?
Huge John Fox fan.
John Fox was the man who invented... he invented Ultravox.
Founder of Ultravox.
Yeah, went on to do some pioneering electronic music, of which Gary Newman built his entire career
Yeah,
on.
very influential.
Love John Fox.
Very influential.
This isn't John Fox, this is me. And a bit of Zog as well, actually. This is John Vox. See what I did there? This is called My Car Won't Go. See you.
Switch, try to make the engine go. Electronic hitch, what it is, I don't know. I want to drive the underpass, overtake the overflow, but my car won't go. But my car won't go anywhere I want to go. I have all accessories that I need, an iPod and connecting lead, car alarm immobilizer, a mini moog synthesizer, but my car won't go. Still my car won't go. Despite my appearance, I'm sure that you'll agree, I'm practically a cyborg, but I'm no good with technology. So my car won't go. Oh no, my car won't go. If I can quote Toya, it's a mystery. What's the matter with my car? Oh no, what's the matter with me? I haven't charged the battery. That's why my car won't go. I'll call the RAC. Does anyone know where quick fits are? Can you give me a tow? No, I'm not a machine. I just sound like home. Next time I'll take a teleport system.
What's the problem, John? Can I help?
To send us an email, see pictures, get song lyrics, join our Facebook fan site or follow us on Twitter, go to GarethJones.tv. Gareth Jones on Speed is made in London by Whizbang.
Gareth Jones on Speed!